On today's episode of PDubs Arcade Loft, we're going to take a look at the AtGames Legends GamePad, the first-party controller that they announced on Nod, and these products are finally shipping out to consumers who placed reservations, such as myself. Paid for this one out of my own pocket. Okay, dudes, we are back. So this particular GamePad arrives just in its normal box, not like a box within a box. And once you pop it open, the first thing you see is a nice, bright, colorful pamphlet instruction booklet. And this booklet was actually pretty well done. When you take a look at all the different instructions on how to charge the batteries, how to connect it wirelessly to your Legends Arcade family of devices, or you could even use this on other Windows or Android-based products. What all the different LED indicators mean, all that kinds of stuff. It's actually a pretty good instruction booklet. Well done there by AtGames. Now, underneath the foam padding, we will find the actual controller. Take a look at that. There it is right there. We're going to dive deep into this on this particular review. But also, don't forget to open up, lift up that bottom plastic there. There you go. That is a USB to micro USB cable. You could use that to charge the controller as well as to plug it into a PC, plug it into an Android device, plug it into any of the AtGames family of products as well for hardwire mode versus wireless connection. Okay, so taking a look at the build quality of the controller, obviously the design and color scheme here, you're going to recognize it. Looks very, very similar to an Xbox-inspired type controller. The D-pad itself feels a little bit stiff, doesn't feel so great. The analog sticks feel fine. The actual buttons here, A, B, X, Y, they feel okay. And then on our trigger and bumper buttons, these actually feel decent, not the best as well. You can automatically tell, because this is a cost-effective controller, that this is not the best build quality in the entire world. But then again, it's supposed to be plug and play with the Legends family of products. Let's check it out and see how it compares. Now, typically, when it comes to using a third-party controller with the AtGames family of products, I typically go with an Xbox 360 controller like this one right here. This is actually a pretty decent knockoff controller. It's actually a pretty decent build quality. I would recommend this one. This one's actually a pretty decent one versus an original Xbox 360 controller. The buttons and all that feel fairly similar. Say the trigger buttons are more clicky on the Xbox knockoff controller. And of course, right here we have an Xbox One controller. This is an official one. Obviously, best quality here. Everything feels super great, super perfect, the way it's meant to be. And you can tell when you kind of switch back and forth between the differences, the AtGames controller does feel to be of a cheaper quality than these controllers. But then again, it is half the price as some of these controllers' normal retail price. I could tell when I was initially playing with this that my biggest concern with this controller was that D-pad. That D-pad, it just didn't feel the best. It felt like there was something wrong with it, which I'll show you later in the video what happened as I was playing with it. The AtGames controller does have the same kind of rumble features that these other controllers have as well, so just like LED indicators and things. And from an appearance point of view, from a final opinion on appearance, they're actually not that bad. It's not like it's an ugly controller. It actually looks pretty cool. I love the green and black. Degeneration X, baby. But then again, I'm a little worried about that D-pad. So why would you even want to purchase this product? Well, when it comes to AtGames, they do have one unique product called the Legends Core, which you can see in the bottom right corner there. That is the hockey puck, the entire HDMI console, sold separately, loaded with arcade games, as well as the ability to access the entire AtGames ecosystem, including bringing your own games, streaming games, all that kinds of stuff, running coin ops X, things like that. So obviously this particular hockey puck doesn't come with a controller yet, but now you do have a first-party controller that should be a plug-and-play solution with it. Would I use this controller with the arcade machines or the pinball machines? Absolutely not. Probably just with the Gamer Core, Legends Core, or one of those hockey pucks that come with the Legends Gamer Mini, Legends Gamer Pro, just in case you didn't want to use your joystick and buttons and you want to sit there on your couch and use your thumbs. You could use this with those. Now here's what I liked. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to test the hardwire connection as well as to make sure that this particular controller was charged. You never know, sometimes when you get stuff like this, you might need a good charge out of the box. Plug it in and sure enough it worked right away via hardwire connection. We're going to test that before we get to the wireless. And as you can see here, everything seems to be working. Up, down, left, right, using the analog sticks to navigate as well as the D-pad right out of the box. And then of course, this should work with all of the included games built into the system. Now, when it comes to your add-on games, there's going to be some issues there, but when it comes to the built-in games, let's check it out. Now, I'm kind of a weirdo when I play like arcade games on a third-party controller like this, usually on Raspberry Pis or things like that. I tend to use the D-pad more than the analog sticks when I'm playing the retro games. I'll, of course, switch to the analog stick when I want to play something a little bit more modern that requires it, or a fighting game or something of that nature. But I'm predominantly using the D-pad. But checking out the analog sticks are working really good. No complaints with those whatsoever. So after testing Boogie Wings for a couple of minutes, I went ahead and I switched over to Space Invaders, another included game, so I could give the D-pad a test, going left, right on the D-pad, as well as pressing the A button. And of course, the buttons themselves, like I mentioned, A, B, X, Y, not too shabby, no big complaints there. And the D-pad seems to be working, but I was having some issues getting the ship to move to the left. So I hopped out of Space Invaders and headed over to Elevator Action, one of my favorite arcade games of all time, included on the AtGames family of products. And I noticed that once again, when I tried moving left on that stick, my character kept kind of like going down. I'm sitting here, I'm like, what's going on here? Kept dying, and it just seemed like the D-pad was unresponsive moving to the left. Every time I tried to move to the left, nothing would happen. My character would just kind of sit there, crouch. He wouldn't actually walk to the left, whether I tapped it to the left on the D-pad or pressed it hard on the D-pad. So I really wasn't happy at all with how that D-pad was performing, so I went ahead and said, well, let's continue on. We still got to test pinball games as well as Arcadenet games, and sure enough, the controller works just fine when it comes to Arcadenet games and using the analog stick, especially for like fighting games like Breaker's Revenge, Art of Fighting, some of the other Neo Geo fighters that are included on the Arcadenet, the games that you stream from the AtGames servers to the HDMI console. No real concerns here. Everything's working really good. Okay, and now it's time to test those pinball games, right? So we got our Flash Drive X, as well as that Flash Drive has got our Add-on X, CoinOps X build on it, partition Flash Drive. We want to test and see how this controller works with playing the pinball games with those trigger and bumper buttons and all that stuff. So testing the Zaccaria pinball games, no real issues. The down arrow on the D-pad activates the plunger. The trigger buttons activate the flippers. The bumper buttons, as well as some of the other ABXY buttons, activate the nudge features and things like that. No issues. Everything performed really good. And keep in mind, we still hadn't even gotten to test the wireless connectivity. We were still testing everything hardwired first. That way we could tell if there was a difference. But it was right around here where things really started to go wrong. In order to get the Gottlieb games up and running, had to change the view from, had to reset all table settings to default underneath the pinball settings, underneath the settings menu, in order to get the game to launch appropriately in landscape mode, because it wanted to launch the games in portrait mode. That's a known issue from AtGames. What's even more interesting is I could not get a Gottlieb pinball game to launch. With the Zaccaria games, all you have to do is press the start button in order to insert a coin and get the game launched. Over here, it wants me to hit a rewind button, and testing all the different buttons on the controller, nothing works. Not even able to get a Gottlieb pinball game up and running. So definitely AtGames needs to do some kind of firmware update here in order for us to launch the games using this gamepad from the Legends core. So now it was time to test the Add-on X and CoinOps X games, so I got into my Add-on X menu, and as you can see, when I'm navigating using the analog stick, it works, and then all of a sudden, my D-pad just went out on me. I told you that button felt a little weird on the D-pad, and sure enough, it just completely crapped out on me, stopped working entirely after only about 20 minutes of gameplay. And that's very, very upsetting. I mean, the analog stick works fine. No issues there whatsoever. Moving left and right with our analog stick, but when we try to move left with the D-pad, it's just completely shot at this point. And that's very disappointing because I only got to do about 20 minutes of testing and gaming. I didn't even get a chance to get to testing the Bluetooth connection or things of that nature. Went ahead and I also plugged in an Xbox 360 controller, the one I showed you earlier, just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind, make sure it wasn't a firmware issue. And as you can see with the D-pad, we can move right and left, no issues. And guys, well, you know how I am, whether a product is sent to me as a review unit or if I pay for it out of pocket like I did this AtGames Legends gamepad. I do my absolute best to give you as fair and honest of a review as possible, along with the real first impressions. And my real first impression of this gamepad is not good. Wasn't even able to get to try wireless connectivity, wasn't even able to get to try Add-on X or CoinOps X games to see if there's any improvement there. Unfortunately, as it stands right now, I'm going to have to open a ticket with AtGames and see if I can get this gamepad either replaced or refunded, because unfortunately, just like any other consumer, I'm kind of disappointed right now that D-pad is not working, and it failed after about 20 minutes or so of gameplay and testing. In my opinion, that's not a good sign. AtGames, in my opinion, should probably stick with really pushing for better third-party controller support, because there's so many good ones out there, like these Xbox 360 and Xbox Ones. I don't really feel they need to dive into this market, but then again, I understand why they did, to, you know, expand their product line and offer something cool for the gamer core in their devices, but I think third-party controller support is going to be a better way to go on this. And I'll let you guys know how my ticket goes with AtGames. And let me know what you guys think. Right now, I wouldn't recommend these. I would rather stick with a higher quality third-party controller than the AtGames first-party one. That's just my honest opinion, guys. Let me know your feedback and comments in the video description comments below. Thanks as always for tuning in. If you enjoyed the review, give me a thumbs up on the way out. And as always, guys, thank you for subscribing.